some quilting today on my home machine, and it dawned on me that maybe if you are new to quilting on your own machine, you might be wanting to know how you go about it, how do you begin. So I found this quilt, and I thought I could show you on this one better. The first thing I do for if I'm ready to quilt, I have it basted, I have it pinned, I'm ready to go. I usually begin, you can't tell here, but I put a basting stitch all the way around the outside. Just a great big basting stitch. And then I'm ready to quilt. And I think on this quilt, I used my quilting foot, my even feed foot, and I quilted around the outside of this border first. And then I quilted around this inside, just tried to stay sort of quilting in that ditch. And then I wanted to stabilize the quilt a little bit, so I quilted around each of these lines on the kites. Now you could just quilt the outside of the kites and do something special inside, but I just did the outside and then I did the inside lines with still using that foot. Then this part, it really doesn't matter, but once you have parts of your quilt stabilized, then you can use your free motion quilting foot, put your feed dogs down, and do this inside section. But I begin by trying to stabilize the outside edges of the parts that are inside the quilt. Let me show you on another quilt that's similar to this. This is another kite quilt, and I basically did the same thing. I started by just going around the outside of this little black and white strip here. And then I went around the outside of the kite here. I went around each inside. So you're just following along with your even feed foot. It's not hard to do on something this small. Do all the kites, and then you have your quilt stabilized enough that you can get your free motion foot out and do some more decorative stitching, more free motion stitching inside. And then I usually wait until I'm near the end before I decide what I'm going to put in the border. So this border is pretty basic. I just used a straight stitch. But I wait until the border near the end because I want to think about it a little bit. So we'll talk about free motion stitching another time, but that's what I do just to begin. I'm showing you this quilt because I wanted to show you another thing about stabilizing. I have already quilted in the ditch, or sewn in the ditch here, and I haven't done out there, but I have done it all the way around. I've done some of these gray lines, and what I do when I'm inside and starting in the center is I'm going to put my needle down, bring it up, bring up the bobbin thread, and then I'm going to hold them so that they don't get boogered up in the back. My machine will make a knotting stitch, and then it will start stitching. So now I can stitch right along the edge of the gray. These are supposed to be like steel beams, and I can keep going right here. This way I will have, as I do that, I'm going to have to readjust all of these layers. The layer that's closer to the arm, the inside of the machine, you have to roll that up a little bit more. The others can be a little looser. And I'm just going to go right along the edge. When I get to the end, you want to make sure you try to feed it nice and evenly. when you get near a pin, remove your pin. And then what I can do right here is I'm coming to the end. I don't want to stitch all the way across there. So I'm going to knot again. It's knot. And then I'm going to lift my needle and I'm going to just scoot the quilt over here. Now, if I were going to put this in some very hoity-toity quilt show, I might not do this, but for me, this is fine. So this is where I want to start again. So I've got my needle there. I'm going to hit the knot button and I'm going to knot again and then go ahead and stitch some more. You might notice when you get finished with this, there will be a thread on the front here between the two, and there'll be a thread on the back. But you could just cut those. They will be fine. I don't think I've had them come loose or anything like that. If you really don't like them, then stop, pull the threads out, and actually bury them like you would if you were hand quilting. And here I can go all the way to here. And then I'm going to knot again. And I think this is the end. Yes, this is the end. So this is going to be, and now I'll take him out of the machine, cut and knot.